Hi everybody, welcome back to Mirrors. Last time David had another vision about King Hroth. I'm sure that's fine and doesn't mean anything ominous. And then the band went to go see a magic show and everybody had a nice time. Let us continue on. I tried recording this earlier, but all of a sudden the sound just completely dropped out 5 minutes into the recording. I don't know what that was about, but I'm hoping it doesn't happen again. My fingers are crossed, and I hope yours are as well, hypothetical future viewer who's watching this weeks in advance from when I originally recorded this. Anyway, the next morning, David was drinking coffee in the lobby, hoping that the sound of the world wouldn't just drop out from under him for no particular reason. Alan joined him in the lobby shortly after. Aren't computers funny sometimes? Anyway. Would you look at that? David, up in the early morning having coffee. You don't see that every day. Were you too nervous about our last concert in Europe to sleep? Not really. I actually got a good night's rest. So much that I just woke up early. Do you think Krost is dead? Dunno. Haven't read the English newspaper yet. Let's take a look. Alan picked up the newspaper from the table. Well, I don't see anything about it. Oh, wait, here it is. It's a small print in the corner. It just says they stopped the blood loss and he survived. What do you know? He's alive. Considering how much he was bleeding, that's actually impressive. Modern medicine can even transplant hearts nowadays. Bleeding from your forehead is nothing in comparison. While David and Alan were talking about Krost, they were joined by Andrew and Susanna. Oh, you're reading the newspaper? I've heard something interesting about Krost. Our promoter told me that his third eye is actually artificial. He had that surgically implanted into his forehead. Seriously? An artificial eye? They say his psychic powers are the real deal. But he underwent plastic surgery to hide that scar, and to make himself look more like an Esper. What's the point? He already had psychic powers. Man, what a moron. That was very definitely not Alan that spoke there. Oh well. At that moment, Martin entered the lobby. Good morning. You're all already up, huh? This has to be the first time I got up later than David. Okay, so, after tonight's concert, we'll be back in London tomorrow at noon. Andrew, make sure you leave the hotel by 4 p.m. and head straight for the venue. Susanna left the hotel to meet up with the promoter. Clark and Vince were in Tiergarten Park. Sitting on a bench in front of them were Susanna and Gokul. How's the directional microphone, Chief? Shush! There's too much noise as it is. I'm having a hard time listening in. What about your directional mic? Oh, yeah, I have it here. Vince hurriedly took out a Walkman-sized device from his pocket. He pointed it towards Susanna. Chief, you have to point it towards them or you won't hear a thing. That's why they call it a directional microphone. I know that. I'm just testing it out. Come on, we have to get somewhere in front of them without them noticing. Clark and Vince moved in front of Susanna while keeping out of her sight. Then they began to eavesdrop on her conversation. This is a good spot. Here's hoping they won't move. Clark and Vince pressed their hands on their headphones with a serious look on their faces. And yet, it's because of him that we could find that man. Even if medical science saved him, the Devil King will not forgive him. But you'll be returning to London tomorrow. Who will end his life then? If nothing happens before then, I'll get in touch with you from London. The ring has been returned to its rightful owner, and is already displaying its power. I'm certain we will find the King of the North soon. Once the Devil King is revived, my wish will be fulfilled. I look forward to that day. The only way to bring him back is to sever the blood of the betrayer while that star is the closest to the earth. Only then will we be able to enact our revenge upon the King of the North. In this modern era of science and technology, nobody would ever believe such a tale. Even if the common folk don't believe it, there are still descendants of the people of the North who have inherited the blood of sorcerers. They may come for us. Watch your back. I probably won't be able to come back to Germany for a while. You'll have to wait for the good news. Let's meet again if you're ever in London. Susanna stood up from the bench and left the park. Clark and Vince went after her, as Gokul watched the pair with suspicion. And so, Eleno Vision was ready to begin their last concert in Europe, the narrator being very careful not to make any sudden movements or bump the table this time, just in case. The band was giving it their best during the performance, and once again the audience was reaching the peak of their excitement. Halfway through the song, David called out to the audience, who shouted back in response. Even though David was speaking in English to a German crowd, it seemed as if there was no language barrier between them. We're all allies! We're all in the same clan! Yeah, we're allies! The entire audience stood up. Between the German language and the furious atmosphere, the situation was starting to feel like a scene out of a certain rally. I don't know if it's actually cool to say that word on YouTube. I'm gonna play on the side of caution. I apologize for being a weenie. Kill the traitor! Yeah! Kill the traitor! Sever the blood of the betrayer! Kill! 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 The eyes of the audience were bloodshot. They were screaming as if their throats were being crushed. The traitor is finally dead! As soon as David's proclamation ended, Alan pressed his hands on the keyboard. The audience let out a yell, and the performance began anew. On the stage, David seemed to grow larger. Though the audience was reaching the peak of their excitement, there were no disturbances. A number of women fainted, but they were carried away by the staff without incident. While Martin was playing his guitar solo, David approached Andrew. Let's skip the ballad. The crowd's excited, but it's all under control. I say we keep the ball rolling and call it a success. That's so weird. They're so excited, but they're all moving in rhythm. Well, sounds good to me. Let's see how far we can go. What are you doing, guys? I'm waiting for you. Huh? We're skipping the ballad? Fine by me. Come on! Martin also seemed to understand. He plucked the strings of his guitar rhythmically, waiting for the song to start. David shouted to the crowd. This is the end of our tour of Europe. I'm going to keep singing until I drop! Yeah! The band kept playing in a frenzy. By the end of it, David could barely let his voice out. The audience was so excited they were literally ripping their shirts off. Then, as he promised, David finally collapsed on the stage. There was not a single person in the venue who had the energy to stand. Even the members of the staff were leaning against the wall. They were all in a daze, beyond the point of satisfaction. Though the concert was over, the staff did not even have the energy to turn off the lights or lower the curtains. David, Alan, Andrew, and Martin themselves were in a daze, on top of the stage. You okay, David? Yeah, I can barely move, but I've never felt better. I've never felt like this before. I think I'm going to cry. Andrew, why didn't the crowd go wild this time? Don't ask me. I can't even think right now. Let's just say it all went well and leave it at that. David, what was that thing about a traitor and the blood of the betrayer? Huh? Did I actually say that? Now that you mention it, I started feeling this sense of unity after you said that weird stuff. Right then, the lights were turned off, and the curtains were closing. There was a round of applause as the curtains fell. However, the audience had no more energy left, so it felt like the quiet end to a classical concert. Way to go, David! I'm glad it's over, honestly. My knees are trembling so much I can barely walk. Though the spotlights focused on the band as they walked out, there was no commotion. After a brief interview, they got into their cars and left the venue. Back at the hotel, David and the others headed back for their rooms, not having the energy to celebrate. David fell asleep the moment he crawled into his bed, without even having the time to think. The next day, the airport was filled with Union Jack flags, which were waved until Eleno Vision's plane was no longer visible. The plane arrived at the Heathrow Airport in London. Once they were done with the customs, David and his friends witnessed something they would never have thought possible before they first left for their tour. Inside their waiting room, there were countless TV cameras and journalists, ready to interview them. Once they finally stepped out of the waiting room, a deafening cheer broke out. Their path was filled with young people holding Eleno Vision banners and magazines with the band on the cover. The band barely had the space to even wave at their fans. Before long, they were surrounded by the police, who escorted them to their car. Escorted, even. A police car opened the way as they headed towards the Hilton Hotel. However, rather than relaxing in the lobby, Susanna led them inside the elevator and then to their room. I was told about it, but I definitely underestimated your popularity. It's like a dream come true. I think of it as the price of fame. I'd like to go to Marquee, but I don't want to bother the owner. The Marquee Club was the music venue where Eleno Vision made their debut. While it did not have any seats, it had a bar and could house around 400 guests. The band would still go there to relax from time to time. Same here. It should be fine if we sneak there, though. I say we all go together at closing hours. I was going to be the first to report back to you when I got home. But if we sneak there won't be a ruckus. Let's all go together just before closing time. I won't be joining you guys. Before you go, keep this in mind. You're not the same people you were before the tour. Be careful out there, alright? Right then, someone knocked on the door. It was Richard, the president of their record label. Good work, boys. Eleno Vision CDs are selling faster than we can print them, and we have a pile of requests for your appearances. I don't remember what sleep is anymore. You can deal with the CD situation however you like, but don't go crazy with those requests. You promised us a 2-week vacation after the tour. I know. You'll have your vacation. But be prepared for schedule hell once you're back. Send my paycheck to the bank up front, boss. No point in a vacation without money to spend. Way ahead of you. It's not all of it, but you can muck about for an entire year with it. A year worth of money, but we only get a couple of weeks off. Welcome to life. Of course, Susanna's getting a bonus check too. Oh, look at the time. Let's go, Susanna. We have a meeting. Richard and Susanna left the room. Meanwhile, back at their detective agency, Clark was using a typewriter while conversing with Vince. You have to hand in that report tomorrow, right? We're finally back in London and you're already pulling an all-nighter. Yep. Got a call as soon as I stepped inside. I need everything you found out in Europe. And it has to be ready by tomorrow at noon. But after that, the job's done, right? I sure hope the pay's good. Still, who the heck is Susanna, really? After all that work, we only have this slip-shod report. Come to think of it, Eleno Vision's last concert was something else. First time I go to a concert where the singer starts yelling "kill" like that. Speaking of kill, I called a friend in Germany once we came back here. That magician, Krost, he died that night. He started bleeding from his forehead again. Huh. Well, his death couldn't be related to Susanna, could it? Are you going to put that in the report too? The client wants me to report anything that catches my attention, even if it doesn't strictly involve Susanna. The two detectives continued to work over a cup of tea. At around 10 p.m., David and his friends headed for the Marquee Club. We wanted you to be the first to hear about our success. We owe you a lot. We probably wouldn't be where we are if not for you. I'm glad to hear that. How about we move to the counter? It's still small and cramped as usual, but we can push some customers away. The owner asked some customers to move away, and lined up some chairs from the dressing room at the counter. Boy, serve us some scotch. No, not that one. Our finest scotch. It's my treat, friends. Bottoms up. It's been a while since we've been here. Jimmy's performing tonight, huh? Guess he's your main performer now. I remember when we used to be the main performers here. The pay was so low, we'd spend most of it on the ride back home. Hey, amateurs should be grateful to even get a chance to play. And small as it is, getting a pay makes you feel like a professional. Honestly, I'm a beacon of hope for all you whippersnappers. Landlord behavior. Before long, the customers around the counter were staring at David. Jimmy, on stage, knew that Eleno Vision was in the club, and that made him anxious. Once his performance was over, he took the microphone. Oh god, what does Jimmy sound like? Screw it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some special guests! Eleno Vision is here! The customers started murmuring, looking around for David and the band. How about you sing for us, David? It might be the last time Eleno Vision performs here. Please, they all want to hear you sing. The guests started clapping, clamoring for Eleno Vision to get on the stage. Jimmy, for Pete's sake. I'm sorry it came to this. Could I ask you to sing? Just one song to please the crowd. Well, you heard him. Are you up for it? I say we owe him this much. Let's do it, David. It'll be like that time in Italy. I'm pretty tired. I hope I have the energy for it. Never thought our first live in London would be at Marquee. We're lucky David's tired. At his best, he'd bring down the whole building. The band went up on the stage. The clapping turned to cheers. That night, the lights of the Marquee Club stayed lit until morning. We'll leave off here, I think. Bit of a short episode, but this seems like a pretty natural stopping point. I'll see you all next time for more mirrors. And hopefully fewer audio problems. Bye for now.